All right. So firstly, I'd be amiss to not talk a minute bit about what's been coming in for me in the last couple of weeks, I would say. I thought that it was just messages for myself, which I'm always receiving, but I feel like it needs to be shared, especially that, Marisol and I talked yesterday, and, there's this energy that I feel, especially coming in for people like ourselves that are awakened, that are doing our part to raise consciousness, to those of us especially that might be in the world of healing, or you know uh, raising vibrations, or really being conscious of how we interact with others. I feel this energy of change. This is what keeps coming in for me, like change, the word change. And change from a perspective of things are never going to be the same. Change from a perspective of we are ushering in a new way of interacting and being, that it's going to be painful at times, because whenever we experience change, even if it's eventually for the better, right? There's always this sense of anxiety. What's it going to be like? What's it going to feel like? What is it going to be on the other side of that change, right? And I don't know about you guys, but I feel that. And I just wanted to put it out there from a perspective of if anybody else is experiencing messages or input that's coming in with regards to that. Like you feel that there's an anticipation that something is going to be changing. Okay. That's what's happening to me. And I wanted to share that because I don't know how all of you are doing, but that is my biggest message. I feel that, and it ties in slightly to what we're going to be talking about today, which is the topic of prosperity and abundance. Last year, I believe I did 2 sessions actually regarding money. Okay. And our attitude about money. And I have to say, we specifically dove into our attitudes about money, and there's definitely a tie-in to money and our thoughts about abundance. But I wanted to cover it from a much broader spectrum today. I wanted to cover it from a perspective of vibration and consciousness versus the actual, exchange of monetary goods or something that is specific to money. Okay. And we can dive into the money topic too, because I think that it's valid, but I want to come from a bigger perspective today. Because, firstly, I wanted to put out there what is prosperity and what is abundance to you. What does that mean for you? I want you to ask yourself that question, because I believe that when we ask those questions of ourselves, we're able to get down to the root of our desires. Okay. So I want you to ponder a moment what that means to you. And I want to make a statement that I found very interesting recently that came into my awareness, and that is, what is stress? Okay. So I want you to ponder stress as a perceived lack of resources. Write this down. Stress is a perceived lack of resources.
I love that.
Right. Doesn't that hit you from a perspective of like, what is Lily? Hey, we've missed you. So I want you to think about this deeply when you have a moment. Just ponder stress as a perceived lack of resources. Now, here's this broader perspective, and this is what we're going to talk about too with prosperity. A perceived lack of resources could be, of course, money, right? Doesn't a lack of money cause stress, right? Yes. When we think we don't have enough to cover our expenses, to pay for our bills, to pay for our needs, and then, of course, on the bonus end, to pay for our desires and dreams to come true, we perceive that as stressful, right? But the active word here is perceive, because perception is your reality. And how you see the world and your beliefs about something are a perception. It's always a perception. And guess what? Each one of you has your own absolutely unique fingerprint-like idea of perception. How you perceive the world is completely your own. And guess what, too? Perceptions can be changed. Okay? So when you perceive a lack of resources, and that could also be a lack of love, right? You can perceive and cause stress to yourself because of a lack of love, or a lack of money, or a lack of friendship, or a lack of connection. So there's tons of lacks that we can perceive in our reality, correct? So if I was to ask you right at this very moment in your life, right now, is there any stress caused by a perceived lack of resources? Is there any lack of resources in your life that is causing you stress? My personal favorite is time. I have a lot of stress over a perceived lack of time. In fact, I think that that's actually one of my biggest lacks in my mind, of course, because the days just seem to fly by and my to-do list doesn't seem to get completed. And there's always this feeling, right, over my head that there is a lack of time, right?
That is a huge perspective of your own self-work. I love it.
Correct. Correct. This is one of our biggest issues, right? We get stressed out whenever we perceive that there's a lack of something. So I challenge you this week to negate those lacks. In other words, I'm going to say this week, I have all the time in the world to do everything that I need and want to do. This is the affirmation that I'm going to say to myself, right? Because I have a tendency once in a while to feel anxious about lack of time to get everything done, right? And I believe that that's probably one of the ones that we all have, right? Right? Doesn't it feel like everything goes so fast and you look at your to-do list at the end of the day and you're like, oh my God, I only got 2 items done. What happened? But if we continue to tell ourselves that there is a lack of time, we get stressed out because that's a perception. Okay. So the same thing happens to us with our perception of money and our perception of prosperity or abundance. And I want you to know that the deadly thought process for this is called comparison, right? Comparison is like a huge problem in our society, in my opinion. We are constantly exposed to others that appear to be doing things in a better way, with more abundance, with more beauty, with more fitness, with more health, with more love, with more everything, right? Hence the very fake selfie, right? So this constant state of comparison adds to our lack of that feeling of stress that is caused with a lack of fulfillment or prosperity. We're always comparing ourselves to others. What if you went on a complete, like, nothing, like Deborah just came back from the Blue Ridge Mountains, right? Did you feel, Deb, when you were there, that there was anything that you needed to compare yourself to that was causing you stress?
No, not at all.
No, right? You
Mhm.
kind of maybe disconnected from all of the social media and all of the stuff that you look at to cause stress in your life by a perceived lack of something. And there's no lack. Here's what's beautiful about being in that gorgeous environment. Is there any lack in nature? No, it works perfectly. It works perfectly. I mean, birds get up in the morning and they find their food. Like, they don't have to go to Publix. What's up? We now, if we are incredible beings, incredible creators, incredible animals, actually, we are part of nature. Why would there be lack in our lives unless we create it for ourselves in our minds, right? So I want you to start coming from this perspective, from this place of complete abundance, and understand that you are part of that. Okay, everything, I want this mantra to be your mantra of the week. Everything I desire is within me. Everything I desire is within me. Because we are born with everything we need to be prosperous. There is no lack unless it's perceived by us. Okay, and I know that sometimes that's hard to get, because when we see homeless on the street and we just like are bombarded by the news telling us that there's not enough this and there's a shortage of that, and yes, I know that that's coming in all the time, but that doesn't have to be your perception. Okay, you can disconnect from that perceived sense of lack that is causing you stress. So we're going to do a little exercise about prosperity. Okay, I want you to stop for a moment and think about people in your lives. And they could be not alive, or they can be today. People in your lives, particularly in your family or friendships, that you consider to be prosperous. Now, I want you to analyze the word prosperous, okay? Because prosperous is not necessarily about money. Prosperous is bigger than that. Prosperous is when you feel a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction in your life. Not only about money. Prosperous in love. Prosperous in friendships. Prosperous in health and well-being. When I asked myself this question, I had a very short list. I had a very short list. And I want you to know that on that list was myself, which made me very happy. I felt so pleased to be able to say that I felt prosperous, because I've found not just an abundance of money in my life or abundance of things. I have a beautiful home. Yes, I have a great business, but I felt fulfilled. I felt that I'm on my path. And I want you to know too, that I'm happy to say that my mom's on this call, and I wrote my mom and my dad as prosperous. And it made me so happy to think about them as prosperous, because so many times in our lives, we didn't feel that way. At least we had this sense of that there wasn't enough, or that things had gone wrong with our finances, or So I wrote my mom and my dad on that list because I feel that they finally come to a place in their lives where they feel prosperous. At least that's my perception of it. And you know who else I wrote on my list? I wrote my loving Ophelia that lives with me, who you wouldn't think she has incredibly wealthy things, but I consider her to be so prosperous because every day she gets up and gives us so much love with love, never holding back in any way, and never, here's the key here, and this is what I want you to think about, never expecting something in return for the gifts that she gives. This is the key here, and we're going to dive into the next class. As a next one from this, we're going to talk about giving and receiving. Because prosperity comes when we give without the intentions that cause a desire to feel that you need to get something back in return. And this is what I have found for myself. And the reason that I feel very prosperous is because I feel that I've found that beautiful balance. The balance of giving and receiving. Because oftentimes in our society and in our culture, we may give with the expectation that we have, there's an underlying intention back there somewhere that you're going to get something back because you're giving it. Okay? And it may be simple, like, okay, we've given to this charity, but it makes us look good. Like it makes us feel that we are more important in our society, or if we've gotten to a place where, you know, oh, other people will look at us as charitable, right? Or philanthropists. But the whole point is not to have that expectation. And I believe that the universe offers a reciprocal gift in kind when we're able to get to that place. And sometimes it can be as simple as offering a smile to someone that seems a little down. It doesn't have to be a monetary gift. So how many people are you able to put on that list of prosperity for yourselves? Anybody want to share? Michi?
You're number one.
Me? Oh, thank
You're the
you.
first person that came to my mind. And my parents down there too.
Yes. Right? Thank you. Thank you. And I feel that way because I'm so blessed to feel fulfilled. And this is what I want you to think about, this term about start from the end in mind. If you're coming, let's say if you're blessed to live a beautiful long life, okay? If you're coming to the end of it, you know, as we all know, we will end, you know, our physical bodies at some point will give out, okay? How would you like the end to feel? Do you want to feel that you have fulfilled your purpose? Have you lived a prosperous life? Are you satisfied? And the segue to that question is there something that you feel in your heart that you would want to do, accomplish, say, experience? That bucket list, the infamous bucket list, that you don't want to leave this life without doing or saying or being or experiencing. Ponder that question and write it down. Because for me, what came up, as fulfilled as I may feel, Michi, and as prosperous as I may be, I still have work to do. And I've made that decision recently, and it's been something that came up for me. And I feel that that's the change that is coming. I'm going to proceed to create what I intended with my book and my workshops and all that. And I'm picking that baton back up because I asked myself this question and I said, I'm not going to be satisfied if I let that go. If I don't make that happen for myself with my heart, not with my head. That's the difference. I want to give this back. I want to make sure that I gave it my all, that I didn't hold back from a perceived lack of time. More than anything, number one, perceived lack of time and a perceived lack of resources like money. This is what I decided. And I hope that you have an opportunity to make that decision for yourself too. To let go of the stress that is a perception based on a lack of resources. Okay? So how long does it take for a dream to come true? Have you guys had a dream come true that felt like it took forever? So my question goes deeper. How long does it take for a dream to come true? Meaning, how long does it take for you to pull that shit out of your vortex, like Abraham Hicks says? So now I'm going to go into consciousness, because if I know all of you have heard about Abraham Hicks and heard Abraham Hicks and understand what a vortex is, right? So a vortex is holding like some big iCloud in the sky, right? All of your dreams and desires. Every time you, like Abraham says, launch a rocket of desire, you have a thought, I'd really like to go on that trip. That's Leslie's thought always. Leslie's the queen of going on travel trips. So every time you launch that rocket of desire, right, it goes right up into your vortex and it's already available. It's available for download. You know what I'm saying? It is truly, literally a click away. Or is it? And I'll tell you why that dream doesn't download. The dream doesn't download because you don't line up with it in your beliefs and your vibration, right? It must be a Leslie thing. Yes. The Leslies that I've got on my call all love to travel, right? So when what is it that gets that? It's like Abraham says, how do I get all that money out of my vortex and into my bank, right? And the only way to do that is through feeling.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. It's the only way to do that is through feeling. And I know for a fact, Maritza, that you are manifesting these two beautiful little babies because you finally lined up too. Because if we understand energy and we understand that we are in a constant state of creation. I mean, is there any day that you do not launch a rocket of desire? I don't think so. That's our purpose here. Our purpose is to launch rockets of desire. Okay, that is what we do every single day. And we can change our mind, of course. But the idea is that we're in a constant state of creation. And if you believe that the reality that shows up for you is of your own making, because that is what we are as awakened spiritual beings. When we are awake, we understand that everything that shows up for us is our creation. There's no one to blame, no other person responsible. You know, when we are in victimhood, right? When we are in victimhood, we use the excuses of every possible excuse that's all. It's that reason that I didn't get this, right? That dream didn't come true because of someone else or something else. I didn't make enough money. I didn't get the raise. I didn't get the bonus. Now I don't have enough, so I can't do this. All of those stories, like Maritza's saying, come up for us. But in the world, the field that is available to us for creation, it's limitless. There are no limits in that state of being. But we have to line up with it through our hearts and through our emotions. So how do we do that? We do that by reaching for the best possible feeling. And this Abraham Hicks is an expert at teaching. We don't dive into something that makes us feel bad. We need to dive into something that makes us feel good and connect ourselves to that emotion. Okay? Because that immediately launches that energy exchange and connection to our dreams and desires. And it connects us literally like to the field of abundance and limitlessness that nature is in bounty of. Okay? I mean, I've said it a million times. I mean, when I watch my trees grow and I don't see them having any struggle doing that. I mean, the leaf just shows up, it starts opening up and it's like, oh my God, before you know it, they're all green, right? How did they do that? Are they efforting? Are they like, get this green leaf out of me? No, it just does it, right? So this is how we have to get to. We have to get to a place where we believe that it already exists. It's already there. The minute we launched that desire and that dream was created in our heart, it already exists for us, but we prevent ourselves from aligning with it. We prevent ourselves. So I want you to write the answers to the questions that I'm going to ask you next. What does it mean to you to be immersed in pure consciousness? I know that's a little wordy, okay? But I'll give you my answer.
Repeat that again. Repeat that again.
Okay. What does it mean to you to be immersed in pure consciousness? Like the world of possibilities. I want you to just expand your idea that anything is accessible to you. What does that mean? And most importantly, how does that feel? If you described it as a feeling, does it feel joyful, happy, expansive? What are the words that you would use to describe that? Excited, maybe?
Connected.
Connected, yes.
Satisfied.
Yes. Haven't you ever had moments in which you're just, something shows up and you're like, oh my God, that was so easy. How did that happen? It could be like you're thinking about someone and they call you and you're like, whoa, that was crazy. Okay. And you're surprised. You're surprised by how easy it was. That easy button with what is Office Depot that had the easy button, how could, and then the thing is that we don't believe that it could be easy. Our problem is like getting in our own way. Like Maritza says, we don't think it's easy. We create all these blockages. We say, no, that's impossible. Everybody has to work hard in order to get something done. But what if that's not true? What if that was just a false lie that they've been telling us, right? So to me, this was my answer to that question. To be immersed in pure consciousness is to trust in yourself and your higher self. To know you've done this before and are infinite and everlasting. to be connected with all that is and ever will be, and to have access to that. That's what I wrote down. So what if I told you, is the internet, is the information in Google limited?
No.
Is it limited? No. Who created that? Does anybody have the answer to that? Like what we have access to. Before we used to pull up I remember my mother having the big encyclopedias, Britannica. That's the one we had at home. Remember, Meech? These big fat books, right? That we went and dived into whenever we were posed with a question in school that we needed to look up, right? Those days are gone. And of course, anything in those books was limited because every day there was something new and you couldn't put it in the book, but close enough. So we would look it up and we'd do the best we could. And we went to the library and we looked up the information and there it is. But now we get to put anything in our search engines and download it. Anything. Try it. So what if you are that same computer with access to anything? Why not? Right? And what if I told you that you absolutely are and that you have access? And guess what? You don't need a password. Okay? I hate passwords, but you know what I mean, right? The password is trust. That's your other mantra for the week. Trust. How many of you trust your higher self? Do you trust yourself? Do you trust and believe that it's true?
One thing, B, that I would like to share is like, I didn't. So I changed the word with faith.
Okay. Faith and trust. I love
Yeah.
those two words. And guess what? There's one more word that I'm going to throw in here because I always ponder this. I wonder the difference between faith and grace. Okay. And grace to me is a trust that the universe, God, or the energy that created us has our back.
Yeah.
We can receive without even having deserved it.
Yeah.
That is huge. Those babies that are growing inside of you, you trust that they are being created in a beautiful form without you having to do a thing except hold them in your body. So we have to trust with grace and faith, which sounds really easy, right? Easy. No, not easy. And what holds us back from that position is our ego, right? We think we know better. It's like, no, eso no es posible, man. We're not going to be able to do that. It's just not possible. But guess what? It is. So how can you bring this awareness of infinite potentiality and abundance into your reality? How can you do that? How can you practice that every day? Practicing that is one of the biggest challenges, and yet the key to having your dreams come true. And make sure that those dreams are lined up with the right intention. Because I know for a fact that if my intention is coming from a place of ego, I'll be damned, that shit is not happening. Okay, this is what I've learned for myself. And that was the difference. What I've realized in these last few weeks that I've been working on this for myself is that anything that I have ever desired and that has come from a place of pure love has manifested. Therefore, I feel prosperous. But anything that has come from any other place, a fear of lack of money, In other words, I intend for this to make me money so that I can have more stuff. That doesn't work for me. It just doesn't. So I've learned that if I come from this place, and for now, and now I can tell you for myself, because of the work that I've been doing for so long, it's very natural to me to be in the state of intending with a pure heart. In fact, if I'm working, let's say on if I get an opportunity or a project comes in for me to do, one of the first questions I ask myself before I take on that project is, can I do this with love, with only love? Because if I do it with fear, I know it's a disaster. It'll turn into a disaster. So I have to visit when I come. I'm very blessed to receive leads for projects, I would say, on a daily basis these days. It's kind of a crazy thing. It's amazing. I've never in my life had so much coming in, but the discernment that I need to make every day is, can I accomplish this project? Do I like the people that are involved in creating this project? Okay, that goes for the client, the company, whatever it is. If that is in alignment with me and love, then it's a yes. If it is not in alignment with me and with love, then I sit with myself and say, doesn't feel good. No, gotta say no. Gotta say
Doesn't
no.
that feels the most prosperous when you can actually say, nope, you don't align with me.
Exactly. And what I've learned is that even in moments that my bank account was low, if I said no, and I can tell you God's my witness and Florinda's my witness here, when I have said no, the universe has thrown at me tenfold. Like, you didn't need that, B. You look, I got more for you. I got better ones. I got better. Because I want to be able to get a call from my client and feel like my friend is calling me. That's how I want to feel. I want to feel that I get the text from them no matter what time of day. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I got to answer this because it's my friend calling. That's what I want to feel. And not only just from a person of my clients that I work with on their homes, I also want to feel that way with the companies that I work for. I've been blessed. I work with Marriott, and I have to say, going on this trip for 3 days, right, Florinda, felt like we were going with friends. That is how I want to feel every day. So everything that we do, we go to the grocery store, and we better do this with love. Okay, we got to pick that pepper and say, oh my God, this beautiful pepper. I'm going to make something amazing for my family with this thing. That's how this is the attitude with which we have to address our lives. And I guarantee you guys, this is the feeling of prosperity. It's not getting up in the morning and say, oh my God, now I got to make this breakfast for these people. Really, I'm so exhausted. No, that doesn't work. Isn't that an amazing reciprocity of love? That's how it should feel. It should always be this giving and receiving that feels balanced, abundant, in alignment with you. And this is the feeling. That's why today's talk is not about money. Today's talk is about feeling abundant, feeling prosperous, and it's an energy exchange. When you are in alignment with anything you do, and you will receive that back to you. It's the law. So practice this week speaking those words that I gave you as mantras, that everything I desire is within me. Everything. There is no lack in my life. This is the beauty of abundance and grace and faith and trust. Like Bernstein, like what is, she says, the universe has always got my back, right? And it does. You just have to believe it. Now, for me, my practice of meditation allows me to come into alignment daily and plug in to this incredible resource that is available to me. That's my practice. Okay? Taking that moment of stillness before you sign on a project or something that you want to do, and ask yourself, is this in alignment with me? You know, this week, my daughter provided me with some graphics for a project that I'd like to use some of her work in, which is it's a commercial project, and it's a therapy group that does therapy for special needs children. And I felt that her work would be in alignment with what we're doing. And she said to me, Mom, I'm sending this to you, but I only want to work with clients that are accepting of my design concepts and graphics the way that I create them as an artist. And I thought, wow, how wise is that? Because that way, whatever she creates is in pure alignment with her state of love and creativity. When a client, and this goes for logos, because for a long time, because she needed the money, she did logos for people because she's so talented in graphics. People would ask her to do logos, right? And, you know, everybody wants a graphic artist that's talented and creates logos for them, right? But she found that doing that work was draining her. Having logos that she created for people that were not in alignment with her ideals drained her. So she made the decision that she was not going to do those anymore. So the only work that she will do outside of the creative work that she creates for herself, right? Such as graphics or logos or things like that, anything that's outside of her artistic work has to be in alignment with her ideals, her look, her stylistic preferences. If it's not, she won't do it. And I felt that is the wisest thing that I've ever heard, because it took me years to do that, years and years to do that. The beauty of what I do as an interior designer, and a lot of people ask me this question, is how is it that you can do anybody's style, anybody's thing, you know, like you don't have your look. And I'm like, I love what is in alignment with me is the fact that it's not about me. Once I discovered that, it's a joyride, because I don't need to be the stylistic influence on others. I can be in alignment with myself, just creating what I believe is their look. It works for me. It's the opposite of what my daughter is saying, right? But it doesn't matter because it's in alignment with me. So one of the deepest feelings of negative energy in ourselves is when we betray ourselves. What does this mean? When we betray our integrity to ourselves, to our purpose and our being, we automatically feel bad. Okay? So whenever you are in betrayal of your own integrity and authenticity and alignment with who you are, you will get like a weight in your body. In fact, your body is the best way to tune in to that, to whether you are in alignment with what you're doing or not. This is why we choose our words wisely. We say things like, I choose to go to that wedding. I choose to go to this event instead of I have to, right? Because when we feel that weirdness in our bodies that says, ugh, why am I doing this? Right? That's when we are being told that we are in betrayal of our own alignment. Does that make sense to you guys? So listen to those cues and trust, operative word, trust that it's right, that it's telling you something, and follow that hunch, like Florence Scovel Shinn says, follow the hunch, no matter how weird it sounds and how crazy it seems, or how impossible it feels. Because if you want your dreams to come true, all you need to do is believe that they already exist. So I hope these exercises helped you to kind of open yourselves up to the idea that abundance may or may not have anything to do with money and material wealth. Abundance and prosperity is your birthright. It is your birthright. Absolutely. You came here already with it, because we are born with everything we need to be prosperous. And most importantly, feel prosperous. For me, I continue to ponder who I feel is my role model for prosperity. Okay? Because I want to model that my whole life. And I thank you, Michi, for telling me that you see me as a role model of that, because I want to continue to be on that route my whole life. I don't want to stray from that idea that the day that my life is over, that I will not feel that I reached all of my fulfillment and satisfaction and contentment with everything that I've done and been and said. This is what I want. That's my goal. I want to leave this planet better than I came here with it. And I want to do it in my own special way. But guess what? We are all doing it in our own special way. Every single one of you. You chose to come here for that purpose. The sooner you discover what that purpose, that special uniqueness, that special sauce that you guys have, and use it to serve others, the more fulfillment and prosperity will come to you. I guarantee it. Because only you can do that. And that's a beautiful, beautiful closing for today's talk. I'm going to continue to talk about this subject from the reciprocity of giving and receiving. I think that's what I'm going to do in our next class, because Florinda and I talked about this on our trip, about finding the balance between those two things is extremely important, because we don't just give, we have to receive in order to create balance and alignment. Okay, and we're going to dive into that a little further. But I hope that this has opened your hearts to the idea that abundance and prosperity is an energy that is there, accessible to you at any time. That what keeps you from that is your own limiting beliefs and your lack of love of yourself and deservedness. And that you can receive all of your dreams come true if you line up with them from the inside out. As within, so without. Thank you, guys. I hope that you liked this lesson. And thank you for all the beautiful shares. Thank you, Mom, for being my role model of prosperity.